So I've just made the brilliant decision of shoving my hand into a bunch of nettles that burn you. That's what they do. So anyway, I just recorded a 10-minute video, which is supposed to be, my kind of bait video. Like, you can't really get any views if you make a long, serious video. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna do my job and then I'll get to work, right? That noise. It's a ship. The ship is gonna go away, don't worry about it. Anyway, I'm not gonna restart now, fuck it. The point is, yeah, I wanna continue my kind of line of thinking from previous videos. That's what I do. I continue my line of thinking, and it tends to be pretty uncomfortable and dark and complicated. So yeah, I'm always worried about bringing in new viewers because they're gonna see something they ain't never seen before, probably, if they really bother to listen to the videos. And I never know how far I can push it, because lately, looking at the news, looking at what people are, it just makes me want to think like, the more I think about people, the less I want to think about them. That's a kind of phrase I coined. The more I think about it, the less I want to think about it, because, yeah, they suck and everything sucks. And it's, just what petrifies me is just how evil and empty and soulless many, many, many people are on this planet. The fact that this is not just going to be Donald Trump bashing, I'm going to bash everyone, hopefully. But the very fact that Donald Trump became the president and he has all these lunatics supporting him, and people talking about, we're gonna subsume Canada and it will become the 51st state of the United States, and we're gonna take Greenland, and we're gonna gut the government as much as possible, and that's a good thing, actually, without actually solving any of the systemic problems that undergird everything. So are they gonna, is Donald Trump fixing gun violence? No. Is he fixing systemic poverty? No. Is he fixing inequality? No. He's making it worse. Is he fixing climate change? No, he's making it worse. It's just, having some compassion for LGBT people. No, we don't like them, they're monsters. It's just, but we're Christian, we love God. It's kind of fitting, because only a sadistic, lunatic God would have made a world like this, where the people who actually believe in the God are the people who don't think the problem of evil is a problem. Right? So actually, it's good that the world works this way. It's good that people, die of suicide by the masses every year, and nothing gets done about it. It's good that we have homeless people, actually, because they ain't work hard enough. So fuck them. And we're gonna clean up their camps, and it's just like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? You don't fix the underlying issues. You don't actually care. Like, I've seen this brilliant interview snippet from, what's his name? I don't remember. This comedian guy who was interviewing a member of Congress, and he was talking about gun violence and how this fucker, this Republican guy, senator, was, talking about how, it's people's Second Amendment, gun rights, blah blah blah. So, all this talk about God and Christianity, no doubt he was probably a Christian just by, probability. This talk about abortion and how, and, drag queens and so on and so forth. All this talk, and yet he doesn't want to solve the mass murders that are taking place in schools in the United States or outside of schools in the United States. He just want to reduce everything, this typical line. It's the individual's fault. It's the bad apples. Well, the individuals exist in what? Exist in what? You know, in a society. That's what he. That's how he got him in the end. He got him to say, "What do you have to do to vote? You have to register." And he didn't want to use the same. He did everything. He twisted. He twisted in every direction to avoid saying the word register. When it came to guns, you don't have to register your guns. No background checks, no nothing, so that the mass murder may continue unperturbed, and sealed by God himself, rubber stamped by God himself, who doesn't think this is a problem, apparently. Not something to be solved. And so we don't like abortions because human life is precious, but we don't care if people get mass murdered. It's just, that contradiction is so fucking brilliant. You couldn't ask for a better example of why the human brain is so rotten, of how much it will do to twist itself any kind of obligation. It's brilliant. People are fucking brilliant in how insane they are. And how quickly, I can't snap my fingers, but quickly everything can change, right? The example I always give is, can you imagine Donald Trump running around with an LGBT flag today? Because that's what he used to do. If you're old enough to remember, in 2016, in the run-up to the 2016 elections, it was actually okay for the Republicans to be pro-LGBT to an extent. It was normal, actually. So Trump would fly this, would hold this LGBT flag and the crowd would cheer. And he actually thanked the crowd for cheering. And he had no problem with trans people either. Like, he was asked once, like, would you let, that trans woman, who was Kylie Jenner, not Kylie Jenner, that, what, I don't remember the name, that trans woman, the trans woman who ran over somebody. But her name escapes me right now for some reason. It wasn't Kylie Jenner, what the fuck was it? I don't remember. But, he was asked, like, would you let her into the woman's bathroom? And he said, yeah. Like, he had no problem saying, but today that's totally inconceivable. And that just shows you how quickly everything can change, how, a tiniest blow, a little northbound wind is enough to kind of undermine everything. So you think that we have solid foundations, that we're going somewhere, that humanity is going somewhere, that there's a path for humanity to go. But then you find that it can do a perfect 180, no problem. Still thinking about the name, it was Jenner or something. Anyway, so the point is that you just have to laugh in the face of those people who expect some kind of solution in the end, some kind of magic that will fix it, make it go away. All you have to do is laugh in their face, because nothing ever gets better. Eventually, the world will find a way to fuck everything up. I don't know why I'm saying eventually. Eventually, the world will find a way to fuck everything up. And we have been seeing that play out spectacularly. And it's just you have to marvel. Like, my point is, I'm not even making a point other than to just kind of marvel at how stupid and insane and irrational people are in general. They have no dignity. Just the other day, I was, well, I'm not going to specify it because I don't want to get my ass beat. But anyway, there was somebody that I just looked at the person. It was somebody who delivered food, okay. Uh, Delivered food to me. And let's just say it was a while ago, so nobody can discern who this was. I always get anxiety, but in case somebody recognizes themselves. But that's not gonna happen because they wouldn't watch this video. But anyway, somebody who delivered food to me, a delivery person, and they were nice. Right? They were not like cruel or something, but I could tell from just looking at them and listening to them that they had no dignity at all. And this is very difficult to prove. I could just be, you could say I'm just delusional about this. I don't see the beauty in people. But I could just tell from the way the person was carrying himself, that there was just no grace in that person. There was no dignity in that person. There was no sophistication. I doubt he could recite a poem or half a poem. I doubt he could write one. I doubt he could paint a beautiful picture or make a beautiful melody. And I'm just saying that's the average person. If you're not the average person, if you're above them, or you think you're above them, let's say, what you see down below you is just this giant mountain of shit. And this is very difficult. Like, how do you, this is not logical, you're just asserting this. But I think you know what I'm talking about, right? I really need to get an energy drink to get properly prepared for a ponderous conversation about nothing. Yeah. Should be drugs. I'm done doing that. Ow. Anyway. So the point is that it's just sad, isn't it, that how silly and stupid and gullible most people are. And we try to make that sound more sophisticated, like there's a deeper problem. I've been coming to this conclusion that when people say like, oh, it's the individual's fault, it's individual responsibility. It's something Jordan Peterson would say, you know what I mean? It's kind of, wash your balls, clean your room. Shit. In a way, I think I've been convinced that it's true, in the sense that people are really just suck, and that's the reason why the world sucks. It's nice to blame a certain system, and to an extent it works. Like gun control, there has to be a system there, of course. But the reason why people shoot is because they suck. And the reason why they shoot is because other people suck. Because they make them pick up the gun. Or they're just crazy. But the point is that you can never really fix the bloodshed, the barbarity. I'm not just talking about shooters. I'm talking about any violence, any kind of cruelty or stupidity. It is inherent to the human race. The stupidity, the cruelty, the ignorance. Just see that example with the one I mentioned in the beginning with the comedian Stuart something. I'm not good with names right now for some reason. I usually can remember everyone's name, but not now. Anyway, the comedian Stuart something. Would be nice if I could remember names. Stuart Howard? Howard? Stuart? No. I don't know. What about the trans woman? Jesse Pinkman. For some reason, that's what comes to mind. Jesse Pinkman. Kylie Jenner. Caitlyn Jenner. Yeah, Caitlyn Jenner. Right. What about the other one? Stuart Harold? No, that can't be. I forget it. You can kind of find the keywords on YouTube. But the point is, that was a good example of how people are able to kind of twist themselves into many different shapes, into an origami. I turn into an origami. Just to try to defend some bullshit they believe. That somehow even mass murder is okay because I have justified it in my head. And here we come to the deeper points. Is that that's not a logical connection? Is that? And here we come to a deeper point, which is that reason comes second. So I have this quip. I sometimes, think in quips and phrases that I made up. Which is that, like, even the religious man, the religious person must believe in himself before he can believe in God. So the religious person might say, oh, I am nothing. I am a grave sinner, all that kind of bullshit. But even to just say that, the religious believer already has to ascribe to him or herself a great deal of confidence that he can make that judgment. That must be the best. It's probably the best form sentence I've come up with so far in this video. Congratulations. Anyway, if I could be that literate the rest of the way through, that would be nice. Anyway, so the point is that this is something that was already explained by Zizek, the philosopher Zizek, Slavoj Zizek, who said, like, when liberals put themselves down, this kind of PC, woke liberals, when they put themselves down, they don't really put themselves down because they enjoy it. They speak from a position of authority. They enjoy being put down. They have a kind of fetish, right? And kind of branching off, that's another point that I think when people say, like, the traditional life of having kids and all that, it's just a glorified fetish. But there's you see a meme and it's like two white people and their white kids, and that's supposed to be like a racist kind of idea, and it's like, that's just a fetish. That's just as fetishy as BDSM. That's just your way of getting through your shitty life. But anyway, back to the main point. They by putting themselves down, they lift themselves up, and that's a kind of so here Peterson might be right when he says that you don't love the poor, you just hate the rich. I mean, that statement is probably correct. At least, I mean, it's a straw man and all that, but there's some depth to this idea that you're just resentful. And so I think that back to religion, that when religious people put themselves down, isn't there a contradiction in the way that they build a church and they say we have a pope and we have priests and we have all these religious leaders, clergymen who can communicate with God? Isn't that kind of the opposite of humbleness? Isn't that the opposite of being kind of I don't know the word, kind of prostrating yourself and kneeling down. Why would all these stupid humans who are sinners and who are nothing before the eye of God, just stupid sinners, why would they have the confidence to talk to God? Why do they presume that they can talk to God? Right? So even when the people have visions of God and they say, well, I'm just a dirty sinner, but God Himself revealed Himself to me. So you're putting yourself down, but you're also lifting yourself up. And that's a kind of through line, a theme, a motive that I've noticed in a lot of people's thinking, is that by rejecting their own, by putting themselves down, they're lifting themselves up. Right? That by playing the victim or the whatever, they actually lift themselves up to the highest order. So one example of this is Socrates. When Socrates says, all I know is that I know nothing. That's something Socrates is supposed to have said. And I got to thinking about that, and I thought, man, that's not actually as humble as it seems. That's not actually as kind of humble as it seems, because by saying that you know nothing, you're already assuming that you know what you don't know, which is everything. Right, so how could you actually know that you know nothing? It's actually a very egotistic statement when you think about it. The statement that you can know, that you can be confident that you know nothing. And the same kind of charge that you could charge postmodern thinking, and I think in particular these people who think they are nothing, that they're just an object, right? Oh, we're just another object in the world. So this is the philosophy of Graham Harman, who says that human beings might be interesting objects, but we're just objects. But the contradiction is that he is the only object who can recognize this. So even though he is just supposed to be a lowly object, just a thing among things, he somehow has the transcendental truth on his side, and he can know that he is nothing. He says he's nothing because he knows that he is nothing. And by doing that, he's actually everything. He is the subject who knows everything. He is the transcendental subject. So postmodern thinking was also charged with this kind of anthropocentrism, that by saying that knowledge is made by us, you're just kind of replacing God with us. It's not God who knows everything, and science doesn't know everything, but we do, because we as society make up the world. And so they charge postmodernism as being anthropocentric to the highest degree. Now, I think there's a truth in it. So I think the correct, but that would be true if only if postmodernists said that they know nothing. But I think the people who say I don't, it's not that I know nothing, and it's not that I know everything, but it's that I know some things, the things that come out of me. I can only know the world through my own perception. And what I know through my own perception, I know for certain, because it's my own perception. So even if it's not true to you, it's true to me. If I have a hallucination, there's really no sense you can tell me it's not true. It doesn't matter if all the people in the world don't see what I see, because to me it's real. It has an effect on me. So I don't think that's actually crazy to say. I think the best position you can have is the position that I know some things, which is what I know through myself, through my own perception of the world. And this I know absolutely. That to me seems like the most honest choice in terms of what you can know. You don't know everything, you also don't know nothing, and you also don't know things objectively, as science would say. You know some things through yourself, and this you know absolutely. That would be my position. I think the world could really benefit from that point of view, which is so rarely accepted. People usually go for the first, that through God they know everything. Even if they themselves don't say it, they imply it. Or they imply that through science they can know everything, or through God they can know goodness and they can know reality. Um, well, they first negate it and then they say they know everything. So it's nobody, not almost nobody says they know everything. But so the first option is pretty much off the table. What they do say is either that they know things objectively, which is the scientific, the scientific option, or they say they don't know anything, by which they mean they know everything, because through God or through transcendental reason they can know. So even though they don't know, they know, and those are the two strategies that are um, accepted, right? And I would just add a fourth one. I would say, in my view, is that you know things subjectively, but this you know perfectly. You cannot be mistaken about what you know. Doesn't matter how many times you say, "Oh, but that's just an illusion in your head." Like when you see the I don't know, a vision or something. It's not really there. Well, but then it becomes problematic because it's very difficult to distinguish between dream and reality. It's a famously difficult problem. So how do you distinguish between dream and reality? How can you say, well, because the answer would be because you can measure it, and you can put it on a scale, and an illusion is going to have no weight, but something real is going to have weight. Um, but I don't think that quite works either, because the illusion can be the thing that has weight, for one, but also it doesn't have to be that something has to have weight in order to be real. Um, like by your own logic, like numbers don't have weight, but you would need to have numbers to have a scale. And if you say numbers are not real, well, but they're still in your mind, so in some sense they have to be real. So if numbers are real, even if they're in your mind, then why isn't everything else that's in your mind real? Well, it's only real in a limited sense, but it's there. If for no other reason than because it affects your behavior. So if you say it's not real, then you can't explain what causes your behavior. If the illusion causes your behavior, well, it has to be there in some sense. And then you run into another problem of like, okay, is it just neurons firing in your brain? No, it's something more complicated. But it becomes impossible to determine what is real and what isn't in a strict kind of sense, because everything that is in your mind It's there in some sense, and it has an effect on you. So, like, how can you say that dementia is not real? I mean, what else is dementia but its effects? Like the way that it fucks with your mind, the visions that it gives you, the sounds that it gives you, the confusions that it gives you. Well, all of that's what dementia is. So you can't just say it's an illusion, because you're then just explaining away the thing itself. That's my problem with something like um, autism is something biological. That mental illness is something biological. So just take a pill and it will make it all go away. Bullshit. Autism is clearly nothing more than the sum of the behaviors it causes. So, autism is not just some abstract bullshit, some biological entity, it's behavior. And it's the way that you see the world. It's not just something purely biological, it's something that is inherent in the way you communicate with the world, which can be modified in all kinds of ways. So, autism you cannot put a simple range on what autism is by just saying it's X, Y, and Z. It is unbounded insofar as it can manifest an almost infinite number of behaviors based on how you situate the autistic person in society. Now you can reduce it to more kind of formal aspects, but those aspects are already modulated and mitigated and produced by society. So whether you stim, whether you avoid eye contact, and so on and so forth, these are all conditioned by how people treat you, by what you occupy yourself with. If you find something to do, there is no reason to stim because you're already stimulated. If people treat you nicely, there's no point in avoiding eye contact because there's nothing to be afraid of. So, moving back to the main point, I do think everything is reducible to the individual insofar as there are only individuals in the world. I don't believe in abstractions. I don't believe that society can exist as an abstract entity over and beyond the individual. Because you cannot explain where it is. It doesn't make any sense. It is reducible to what goes on in the mind of the individual. And that subjects us to a right-wing interpretation. It says, that's what Margaret Thatcher said, that's what neoliberals say, that's what Jordan Peterson says. But I think we can twist it. And we can kind of pull a twist on it and say, yeah, but this doesn't have to mean we return to a kind of reactionary society. It can mean recognizing that society is made up of individuals and that these individuals should be treated well. There's no contradiction there, the way I can see it. To me, it's just obvious that the only reason that what society is just a bunch of ideas in my head. The reason why I dress a certain way is because I have some idea in my head that looks good or that will please somebody. But there's somebody that is pleased. It's just some notion in my head. I keep the society in my mind, even though this society doesn't really exist in any kind of substantial form other than the idea of it in my mind. Society is the idea of it in my mind. You can break society. You can do anything you like. You can break it down, set it on fire. It's just an illusion. And it's made to suppress you and keep you down. If you don't do this, then society will fuck you. If you don't do that, then society will fuck you again. But who will do the fucking? It's individual human beings who bought into the idea that they need to do this. They do it because they think other people think it. It's a scam. It's a big freaking scam. And we're all part of the fools, the schmucks who play the game. Because we don't really have a choice. We've been put on this earth, came out of our mothers, and now we're screwed. So if you ask, why I'm an antinatalist, well, I think it begins with birth. That the very first slavery that you experience is when you're in your mother's womb, because you're completely dependent on that bitch. If she smokes, if she eats like shit, if she doesn't take care of herself, you as the fetus will suffer. Or she could abort you, which may be a good thing, but the point is that because you don't have to live, you don't have to bother with this shit. I think that's better, basically. But then people say, okay, so then what about if you're a baby? Well, that's difficult to say, but I'm just saying, if it was me, if I was the baby, well, I wish they would have just got rid of me because I didn't turn out so well. And it was probably fairly obvious that I wasn't going to. But whatever. Because I don't know my father, my mother gave me up for adoption. She probably was fucked up. But whatever. The point is that birth is the first kind of fettering of the person. You're in your in your mother's mercy, whether she decides to take care of herself or abort you or whatever. It's her decision. And even before that, if she births you, the decisions that she made in her life, in society itself will determine the kind of life that you will have, right? Whether you popped out of the right vagina or not makes and breaks everything. So well before you were born, you were already subjugated. You were already robbed of your freedom. So the people who talk about freedom, or they talk about economic freedom to choose, all that bullshit. Why? The first freedom to choose is already taken away when you're dragged into a world that you could never consent to or read the terms and conditions. That was already set out by the way society treated your mother and the decisions that she made because of that. You don't get to have a say or any of that, and you don't get to say no to being born. That's a major fatal flaw, I think. I think we recognize that. I mean, you don't have the right to. That's why I think it's funny that we don't think we have the right to as much as tickle somebody, right? That would be assault. I can't just go up to somebody and tickle them. But I can make an entire human being. I can make them go through an entire lifetime of sensations to which the person never consented in the first place. I never consented to have any of to have any of the sensations. It's just something that comes with life, which was imposed. But so that's the first imposition, that you're already in your mother's womb, and when the vet nurse, or the doctor cuts the limbic, what do you call that? The limbic cord, is it called the limbic cord? It's not called the limbic cord, is it? You something, whatever, the cord, limbic cord or something. I don't know. When the cord is cut, it signifies a kind of freedom that you have. You're no longer literally attached to your fucking mother. But it only gets worse from there, because the indoctrination begins young, right? They're gonna tell you that your favorite color is blue because you're a boy. They're gonna tell you that you like trucks because you're a boy. They're gonna tell you to go to church because you're a Christian. They're gonna tell you to X, Y, Z. Everything they're gonna tell you. And they might be benevolent about it. They might have all the right they might have all the right intentions. But here we have to be wary of the fact that sometimes your best ain't good enough. So one kind of cognitive fallacy that people engage in is the idea that just because you do your best, that's somehow enough, right? You hear this a lot in Japanese, right? Ganbatte, and do your best. Japanese love to say that shit. If you just do your best, that is somehow enough. But what if your best ain't good enough? Does anybody say to a politician or an engineer who makes a bridge, I just do your best? No, it has to be all the right parameters, or it will fall. There's really no such thing as doing your best in the real world. It's not really quantifiable. In the real world, what you have to do is whatever is conducive to victory, conducive to function, conducive to, you want to get the cookie, you have to walk 15 steps to the kitchen. It's all functional and operational. There is no doing your best. It doesn't really exist. You have to set out a goal. But doing your best becomes a very hazy idea. How do you do your best when you want to get cookies? Do it as fast as possible. But maybe it's better if you wait a little bit, like it's not really a real idea. And so the cognitive fallacy is that if you just do your best, it's good enough. Or if you have the right intentions, it's good enough. But everybody knows that's not true, but people generally say, like, if we just do our best, that's a justification. So one example, and I can prove this. One example of this is the capitalism. This idea called capitalist realism, that it's easier to imagine the end of the world than the end of capitalism. So one justification for capitalism, given, for example, by Jordan Peterson, is that, well, that's our best. That's the best we can do. Right? Or this bullshit line of, I think he said it was Churchill who said this first, that it's the worst except all the others. So capitalism is the worst except all the others. And so I have problems with this. Not because we can do better. I'm actually not sure that we can do better. I'm actually pretty satisfied with capitalism as far as the systems are concerned. But the question is, well, why then that should be a justification for life? That just because, or for capitalism itself, that just because capitalism is the best we can do, that means we should somehow do it. So if the best I can do is, like rape 4 people instead of 8 or 1,000, that means okay, green light. 4 is the best you can do instead of none. Good. No, you have to ask, is that good enough in relation to what? If it's not good enough in relation to justice in general, some idea of justice and righteousness and reason, which is mostly arbitrary, I admit it, but still, some idea of perfection, that would be the point, perfection. Well, there it will fall way short of the ideal. Right, so you have this anti-natalist arguments given by David Benatar, like, if you could live forever or 0 years, if you could have zero knowledge or all the knowledge in the world, where do we fall? Very close to the zero end of the spectrum. Yeah, right. So even if we have lots of pleasure, still we could imagine a world where we have so much more pleasure and so much less pain. It would be better if the world contained so much more pleasure and so much less pain that it wasn't necessary to have pain at all. And so you're a slave to the world. You cannot talk about freedom when you're already gauging what is good from the standpoint of the world which already exists. Right? So why should I accept capitalism as a good or just or acceptable system, or life as justifiable because of X, Y, and Z, if you're only really justifying it from the biased standpoint of the world which already exists? You can go outside of that. I mean, you can ask, but it would be better if, and if it's not, then you can say fuck it. That would be my kind of anti-natalist, anti-capitalist argument, is that, yeah, from the current standpoint, it's good. Definitely better than all the other, no matter how much the socialists cope, it was a fucking disaster. Capitalism is just delivers much better. Personally, selfishly, I have no problem just living out, nobody bothers you, you can buy anything you want. That's about as good as it gets, in my opinion, realistically. But to make the jump from that to the idea that therefore is justified, or that life itself is justified because we tried our best, that becomes a fallacy. So another fallacy is that I want to talk about a little bit is it's a twofold fallacy that I also discovered, or at least I thought about, which is that it goes like this: that just because there's a problem, there must also be a solution. Wrong. There could be a problem and no solution. And the other side of that, which you might be surprising to you, is that just because there's a solution, that solution can be applicable to something. Right? So you might find that confusing. But surely if there is a solution, there must be a problem it's applicable to, but not necessarily. It could be that you see a problem, you figure out a solution, but it can be applied realistically for numerous reasons. Things just stand in your way. You can't apply the solution. I think you find examples for it all over the place. Some bureaucracy, some law that tells you can do it. You can make it better. And these are serious problems that really cannot be solved realistically. This idea that just because we see a problem, If we see a problem, we can't necessarily solve it. If we have a solution, we can necessarily apply. These are major blows to the optimist or to the natalist who defends life as an idea. That why should we defend a universe where problems are incessant, never ending, right? Why should we live in a life where the solutions are rarely applied properly? And why should we live in a life that's less than perfect? Right, so my argument would be for the anti-natalism stuff is like, but why should I accept anything that's less than perfect? Right, so if I have a negative, so a negative meaning like less than perfect, and I have perfect, even if perfect means nothing, then why should I go for the negative? Just because it's something. And you might say, well, nothing is not perfect, nothing is nothing, but in some sense, nothing is the only perfect. Because perfection means nothing bothers you anymore. And that's again a major problem for life, for natalism, for optimism, that in order to fill a hole, you have to dig a hole. There's no sense in filling a hole if you haven't already dug the hole. So you have to be in a problem before you can fix the problem, and that's terrible. That sucks. Right? So that's no good. Why is it that I should live in a world that's less than perfect? That has to be less than perfect, because if it was perfect, it wouldn't be. Why would I just not choose the perfect? The zero over the negative, even if the negative contains positive. That's a fundamental anti-natalist argument put in a different way. But I think it has a kind of unique twist to it, which is that, like, they tell you that you're crazy if you want perfection. But they never actually... But why should I be crazy just because I want perfection? Maybe you are crazy because you accept anything less than perfection. I shouldn't have to accept anything less than perfection. So if I can't ensure that something will be perfect, then I just won't make it. Simple as. Just don't make it. Don't have it. And going back to the beginning of Trump. Funny thing about that, or the tragic thing about that, is that what the Trump era has done is it has brought in a new era, whereby, because everything is contingent, like, you realize the future presidents will try to one-up Trump. Like, the future candidates will be, how can I out-Trump a Trump? How can I play by his rules and be more like him so I can too succeed? What he's done is he's pulled down the kind of general bar of decency so deep that it will have downstream effects forever. Right? Back in the day, you had to be really smart and corrigible, polite, and almost decent to be a president. With Trump, that trend is broken. So now any idiot and lunatic can be a president. So in the future, all you can hope for is something worse. You will not get something better, because the bar has been set lower, not higher. There's not going to be some great, okay, so we have a Trump that's really bad, so now we're going to have an anti-Trump that's really good, like an antimatter. That's not how it works. You don't have Nazism and then have anti-Nazism that's in the sense of a utopia. No, you You may have the defeat of Nazism, but the world still sucks after that. Nazism just left a terrible mark on the world. The dropping of the nuclear bomb has left a terrible mark on the world. All these things have done, these past atrocities and evils, is that we can do that. Oh, we can do that. We can drop nukes on people. We can genocide. We can subject people to scientific experiments and get away with it. Like, I mean, the Japanese presented the research to the US, and it was useless, actually, from what I've heard. We can, invade countries and destroy. We can do all that. We can say vulgar things. We can be racist. We can do anything, and we can get away with it. The bar is set lower, not higher. This is no cause for optimism. I don't see a cause for optimism. What would be the who is this person? Who is this group? Who is this ideology that will? What is this ideology that will come in and save the day? I don't see it. That's the problem. Trump, it's like a philosopher. A big philosopher comes in, a big scientist comes in, it's never quite the same. So there's some sense in which you can never really begin anew. There's no new dawn that will come in and fix the day. And that might have something to do with, there was a comment who said, talking about the second law of thermodynamics, that in a complex system, everything degenerates. So as complexity increases, order doesn't decrease also. Like, it's not like everything forms into a perfect order. It actually degenerates. It's difficult to keep things functioning properly when everything is very complex, because the variables are too much. That's basically the idea, I think, right? Which is on an intuitive level, which makes perfect sense to me, because that's the argument I've been making for an argument against progress, that as technology increases, and I used to include the first time I was talking about this, that just the fact that people are more intelligent in some sense, that they have made political ideologies. So this goes back to the first guy, the senator who used the little intelligence that he did have, the little cunning that he did have. For what? Not to fix something, but to make it more broken than it already was. And so, because people are more intelligent, that might have led to some good things, but it also makes ideology possible. So you give people more technology, not only do they whack each other on the head, they also do it with the intention of killing them, because they are now the enemy. Right? AOT, Attack on Titan, has this beautiful theme of like, who is the enemy? And they always point to each other. Who's the enemy? We are the enemy. Human beings are the enemy. They said in AOT, conflict will never end until there are at least 2 human beings on the planet. For as long as there are at least 2 human beings on the planet. It has to be less than 2. That's why George Carlin said, people in groups even as small as 2 are dangerous. The individuality is driven out of their heads, and they become players of the game, play the Game of Thrones, whatever. They become fools, idiots, scoundrels. Don't have any ideology, they just repeat what the society tells them. And that's why I've been also growing really annoyed with all this talk about, you know, like in TV shows, you always characters only care about their own families, right? And it got me thinking, like, it's so annoying that, even though some of the characters are shown to us as like good people, it's like they really only care about their own families, right? This nepotism that are people really nice, but being nice, you quickly find out that the the nice people, even the kind people, are usually only nice or kind to the people that are around them. So they don't extend that kindness or that to children in Ghana. They don't give a fuck about them. How many fucking tears have they shed because of all the children who died in wars, died in Palestine, died in of hunger, died of diarrhea, all kinds of things that people still die of. No fucking tears. They don't care. So I've been having trouble watching like TV shows because I get reminded, like, oh, you really like, the dad gets really angry because somebody molested her daughter, and it's like, yeah, I understand why you get upset, but do you really, you don't care about all the others? You don't consider, well, what if that kid got molested and that one and all that one? You only care about your own fucking little bun, your only little whatever the word for kid is, little monster, little creature. And there will be a justification for that too. But that's the way it works. That's the way it works. Well, if that's the way it works, then fuck it, right? No? I'm so tired of this, all the hypocrisy, everywhere I look, I just see stupidity and hypocrisy of, we don't like this guy, but, let me just order another iPhone, which was, we all know, mined by slaves and put together by slaves. But we hate abuse. Fuck you people. You abuse every day. That's why there's a grain of truth in violence. Because I don't want violence to be imposed on innocent people. But to an extent, we're all part of the problem. We're all criminals in some sense. So, the only thing that gives me some comfort is like, I just get reminded of Bukowski poems, like there's a bunch of great lines of looking at people and just seeing them kind of rot in dreamlessly, for example. You can find this on YouTube. Beautiful. Should listen to them at least. Just these beautiful observations about how just dead people are, how cruel they are, how stupid they are, what kind, in the poem Alone Together, he's talking about there's no chance at all, right? He says, the flesh searches for more than flesh. There is no chance at all. Nobody ever finds the one, right? The city dump fills, the junkyard fills, the madhouses fill, the hospitals fill, the graveyards fill, nothing else fills. Born into this, another great one. There he has a beautiful kind of haunting post-apocalyptic vision just coming through more and more of oily men eating the oily, spitting out the oily prey. Rich men watching from space platforms where they escaped, you know. Yeah, many different ones like that. One of the most underrated ones is like um one I don't remember which poem this is from. It's a modified one, but it ends with like some beautiful lines of like you know, the killer beheads the child, like taking a bite out of an ice cream cone, and the ocean comes in and out under the direction of a senseless moon. That is just beautiful. But an underrated one that he has is where he was he was poor, working shitty jobs, and he visits I don't remember what it's called, but it's this kind of a homeless kind of a homeless encampment, not an encampment, but yeah, a homeless shelter, where they just have a bunch of beds. It had a name back in the day. It was a different kind of thing. Had a name, but there's a bunch of beds laid out, and he would sleep there, and get food. And when he lined up for food, he was talking about once about like lining up for food, and you would have to listen to God. You'd have to listen to, them preaching about God to get food, to get some sloppy fucking you know mush to eat, which is beautifully ironic. But anyway, so in this poem, he was this was somewhere else. In the poem, he's talking about how disgusting and putrid the fucking conditions are. People just they they don't have a shower. Everybody's disgusting. Just horrific, visceral scenes, and then he just has this line of "It is not bearable," and that has stuck with me. That line of "It is not bearable." Sometimes I think about that. It is not bearable. The simple statement that I have felt many times before, which is a good encapsulation of the situation. Right? It is not bearable. So I have totally lost the thread. I have no idea where I was going. Something about history. Why I don't believe in progress. Pretty basic stuff. I never get anywhere new, I guess. But yeah, I guess I was talking about TV. It's just nepotism. Like I didn't even want to participate in the kind of Christmas, gift giving activities of my family, because I just thought, fuck you people. Like you have the money, you know, just donate it away. I don't want a gift. Fuck you. But they had me participate anyway. I don't appreciate it at all. Fuck you. I don't need your gifts. You shove it up your ass. And I don't care. I don't even care. If my family saw what I'm saying about them, I don't care. I don't care. I don't give a shit. I'm not a nepotist. I don't care about you people any more than I care about anyone else, really. Except for one or two people who I have a history with, but all the others can die in a ditch. I couldn't give a shit. They couldn't give a shit about me either, so who cares? I'm just being honest, A lot of lies in society. Duh. A lot of lies. Like one lie that really interests me is like that you're not allowed to talk about like a student. I'm just saying that you're this kind of like Misato situation. I just call it, that I'm just saying I would have it would have been a great boost to my to my academic achievements if I had a Misato who would motivate me in all the right ways. But no, you can't do that. That's rape. Even if I enjoyed it and I knew what was going on, it's still rape because you have to be insert arbitrary age. But there are many problems with this idea. I'm sorry to say. Like people nowadays don't really mature at all. Like people are just overgrown children. Um, there's nothing to mature them anywhere. They don't fight in a war, or they just eat chips and die. So in what sense? How does this age thing even make any sense? Like, what if I'm 22 but I feel particularly depressed and exploitable today? But it was still consensual because I said yes. People, you can still exploit people. It's very easy to exploit emotionally damaged people, and that's an increasingly large number of people today. So that problem is not taken care of in this equation. Um, then I made the point before, very problematic point again. I would be like dragged and quartered for this, but if hopefully nobody sees it. But like I probably could have consented much more to sex 10 years ago than I can today, and I'm 25. When I was 14, when I was 12, I could probably easier because today, I've lost all my. I don't have any self confidence in myself. So if somebody wants to gaslight me, they can easily do it, and I wouldn't even know I'm being gaslit probably because even though I'm intelligent, intelligence doesn't translate to interpersonal relationships. They can fuck with your head. So it would be much easier to make me do sex today than it would have been like 12 years ago, because back then I was plugged in. I knew what I wanted. They couldn't just manipulate me so easily as they can today. Um, that's not something that's taken into account either. So this is a very incomplete picture of what reality is on this planet. But it's okay to. What I think is assault is when teachers don't let you take a piss. I consider that assault, even though most people don't. So how about you? How about you fuckers look into the mirror about that? Because when you don't let a child go to the bathroom, which is where you send your children not to school, instead of pulling them out or sending them to a private, or not having them or sending them to an alternative liberal school, you just send them to these schools where you're not allowed to go to the bathroom unless the teacher says yes, which is already a humiliation ritual in the first place. But then he can say no, which is directly influencing the organs of the kid, the privates. It goes into it's it's very personal. It's indirectly meddling with the organs of the child, the bladder, the system, the pissing system. It's very cold. I consider that sexual assault, but almost nobody does. I consider forcing kids to be in school when they don't want to be a kind of abuse, but almost nobody does. So you people only consider assault when it's the most obvious thing on the planet. You don't think it's assault when it is, and you think it's assault when it isn't. You're all kind of fucked up idiots. You have no appreciation for anything. You're a bunch of fucking liars. And then you still buy your fucking, slave-bought products instead of killing yourselves. I'm reminded of the quote from the serial killer Carl Panzram, who said, he actually said this to anti-death penalty activists who campaigned to forgive him, to not execute him, the state, or whatever, the federal state or whatever state was executing him. So they were campaigning to like pardon him, and he said, "To you, I only have one thing to say," something like that. He said, "I wish you all had one neck and that I had my hands around it. Well, that's what I wish on the rest of you fucktards." I wouldn't do. I'm not violent. I wouldn't do anything violent, or because I know it doesn't work. Violence doesn't work. Innocent people don't deserve to get killed because society sucks. It's just a sentiment that I have, that I live in this world of fucking idiotic, fucking one-sided, hypocritical lunatics. A bunch of almost subhuman assholes. Dishonest to the core. Stupid, uncaring, uncouth, unsophisticated. What other words do I have? Oh, the bad ones. You don't care about people. You pass by homeless people. You're a bunch of fucking assholes. I seen one of these family members was supposed to be a Christian. Maybe he donated elsewhere. I don't know. It's just a hinge that I'm right, or a hunch that I'm right. But anyway, in the store there was like this section where you could donate like flour or salt or anything basic to charity. And this guy who's supposed to be a Christian just walked right past it. I was studying him. I was like, "Are you gonna do it?" Or are you? Of course he didn't. Now this could be that he did it some other time. I'm just saying, when I was there, he didn't do it. But I did at least a couple of times. So this tells you the values of these Christians. I don't want to, like, that guy is pretty nice, but like, I'm just saying he's only nice to his own people. Then the homophobia, we don't like this guy because he's gay. As if that mattered or meant something, or why would God make gay people and then hate them for it? What the fuck is wrong with you, you idiot? These people don't give a shit about anything except themselves. And I could go on and on. I'm probably gonna freeze to death if I keep being here, but something like, even if you're like, if one of these incels and you're complaining about e-girls, I understand it. They only get views because they're pretty, but they're not happy. Because I'm a stupid, I'm a loner incel too, basically. So I follow some of these girls, and I've seen at least 4, and they're all suicidal. They all hate themselves. So even though you're pretty, even though people like you and follow you and want to screw you, it's still not good enough. So don't be too jealous of people. Because the more I look at people, the more I see people that I used to be jealous of. I don't know, PewDiePie, Markiplier, or one of these famous people. And you look into their lives a little bit more and you're like, I don't want to live that life. It seems like a drag. You find out they have a condition, they have a dead sister, or, they they got raped when they were 4, it's not as nice as it seems ever. So just don't be too jealous. Everybody gets it. Everybody was that musician who said, nobody dies a virgin, everybody gets fucked by life. Yeah, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm the only victim. I've also been the perpetrator. It's just that, in my opinion, the only reason why a perpetrator is a perpetrator is because he was already a victim. Right? Perpetrators become perpetrators because society fucked with them or didn't take care of them properly. Let's be honest. So, these are the kind of radical views that I have, and it's difficult to air them because I never know when I'm going to get shut down or beaten up because um, it's very difficult to be honest in this world. Or just, veganism pops into my head. All this virtue signaling about love. And then we have made artificial slaughterhouses, torture chambers, where we murder a bunch of animals because we want to eat hamburgers. And here I'm part of the problem. I'm sorry for. I've been a part of the problem in all kinds of ways. I've been an abuser. It's just it's difficult to be honest in this world. Because they get you. They people love to kill the messenger. They love to kill the Jesus and the Gandhi and the MLK and anybody. We all know this, right? They love to shoot the messenger, even though I'm just being honest. Just saying honest things. No, can't say that, can't say that. Let's just keep pretending. Maybe that will make it go away. Yeah, just one more topic and then I'll go. Like, students nowadays, they can't pay attention at all, right? So it must be really sick to be forced to sit in one place reading one textbook for 45 minutes at a time when, nobody today can pay attention for 45 minutes at a time. So, I just my kind of condolences go out to the youngsters who are tortured in these torture chambers. I mean, what a classroom amounts to today is a torture chamber because you can't bloody pay attention and they force you to. They take away your phone. That must be horrific because everybody loves to touch their phone at least 50 times a day. When they take it away, you must be just fucking out of your mind then. So my condolences go out to the students. Youngins watching this maybe. I'm sorry. It's a fucking torture chamber. They make you. It doesn't mesh. You can't have a generation hooked up to the internet and then just kind of drag them out of it for 45 minutes at a time to make them pay attention to one dull fucking subject that is presented by, in the way of a, unenthusiastic hand job by some asshole who doesn't care. What's the fucking point? You're better off trading crypto, learning how to edit videos than to do what these assholes tell you to do. Stay in school for what? And people talk about don't go to college anymore, it's not worth it. Well, what about high school? Is that worth it? Even middle school wouldn't be worth it nowadays. If you have any brain, any originality, you're better off just leaving. I mean, I'm sorry. I started dropping out of schools when I was 14. And I gained nothing. It just sucked. I could have done everything on my own and could have done it better, no doubt. I don't need these people. Never needed them. I never needed the bosses or the teachers or the priests or the parents or any of these assholes who presume to know things that they don't. It's great that I always fire up in the last minute so that nobody is still here to watch it. I'm gonna fucking die. It's so cold. Now I want to stretch it to an hour and a half. We'll see if I make it out alive. I don't know if I should switch up the scenery or just do voiceovers because it's probably getting repetitive. It's not like anybody cares. I'm just doing it because I don't know what to do like the rest of you who watch YouTube videos and make them. You do it because you don't know what else to do. What the fuck am I supposed to do? I just think about death all the time. I even smell it. I can smell that. Usually it hits me sometimes. You know what? Jesus, I can barely feel myself. Oh, good God, it got so fucking cold. Gee. Hey, look at that. It's almost like the sun is going down. It's up there. Yeah. Oh, God, I hate people. And no doubt, I love to hate them. What the fuck? I wonder if this is my sweat. How? I don't know if that was there. I don't really get it. Yeah, this might be my sweat. The fuck? Well, yeah. Sorry. Sorry if I offended you or said something you didn't like or bored you. I don't have anything else to give you. I'm sorry. The only reason I'm not even more honest is because I'm afraid of the consequences. I'm pretty honest. I just disagree with everything people say. I think they're all full of shit. I don't like anybody. I don't even like antinatalists. They seem like a bunch of dull idiots too. We don't like life. Yeah. But you don't have any original ideas either. You suck. So I used to kind of, I used to kind of try to propitiate the anti-natalist, pessimist community, but I think it was a mistake because I don't like them. Try to get on their good side, but my tragedy is that I'm a staunch individualist. I don't like ideologies. None of them make any sense to me. The idea of running around with a flag, telling people what is what, telling people to join my side and fight a war, it's just not for me. I don't like people. I disagree with everybody. Everybody's a fucking idiot, including me, no doubt, but I can't get out of myself. There's not enough hours in the day to examine my own bullshit, right? I might be getting this wrong or that wrong, but it's just too much to think about. You go insane. Sometimes you can be excused. Yeah. God, it's so cold. Yeah. I guess this is just a kind of funeral song or whatever for. I always try to keep in my mind the downtrodden, the victims. I try to think about them and keep a kind of mental vigil and sing them a song and praise them and kind of speak for them, even if they don't know it. The people that nobody agrees with, the people who are kicked down, the people who are cast aside. Sorry. I sometimes wonder if, you could hug some of these people. All you have to do is hug a school shooter and it's not going to be a school shooter anymore. People do things for trivial reasons. They become Donald Trump for trivial reasons because their cock is too small. Or their mom never loved them. People are children. Maybe they should be treated as such. There we go, I was too honest again. I wish people like Jordan Peterson would understand that this is real. The stuff I say is the real controversy, not his bullshit. Too many woke people. Oh God, I'll go on hunger strike. Well, try saying half of the shit I say, bitch. You won't make it out alive. Sorry, I'm really cold. But we made it to the mark, which my OCD has told me I should reach. So that's about it. See ya. Sorry.